tonight we're gonna work on strategies on growth management, all right,
And it's
on
where they
future
want
land
to put that
use
battery
and transportation.
So
together.
this committee keeps
So there,
shrinking.
we told them, I said, in the launch year, it's like half.
The citizens part of it.
It's split.
Well, I'm
It's
trying
like
to
half
lose weight,
single
so.
family and half commercial or industrial.
That's not
I
the
said, well,
shrinkage.
that's all we did.
We'll also go through the community
They
survey
came in here
results.
and they had
So we're also gonna go through the community survey results.
They said, well, we don't rezone.
Exactly that.
Or they didn't want to spend the rezoning in case the city did.
Good evening.
Can you?
I don't even want to take your time to tell you.
All right, well then don't.
So it's going to be better. You can't get.
Thanks
Yeah.
for being here again.
Well, this is the last meeting this year. And do you know Mr. Greenhagen?
Met him a while back. I
Mr.
don't know if he remembers
Sir?
me.
Hold on, let me see if I've got it here. I think I have it.
See you this time. That's sitting right behind me.
Who, me?
I went over to Crosby.
Test.
So, well, $8.99 for a 12-pack, $3.99 with the digital coupons.
Okay.
So I already got.
Got it. Okay. I'm going to.
And I was invited to participate in this program. And I found I could do that by email. So on the 3rd of September last summer, I sent you a email. This past September, yeah, 23. Yeah. I sent you an email and you acknowledged you got the mail. You told me you were going to review it. Of course, I wasn't clear how you function. Do you get input? You invite people's input every day.
So on the last what I did is I took all the comments that we received and I put them on a document.
See, that's what I had hoped. Because here's what I sent you. I didn't put phone and all that, which I do in here now. But I didn't know then what happened after that.
We had about 20 emails that you could have sent in. And then we had another 15, well, quite a bit on social media on Facebook. What I did is I took those snippets, the comments. So and so says this. So and so says this. And we shared it with the community before that last meeting. They were talking about the vision, things like that. So a lot of that has been discussed in the last meetings. They were provided, and then of course we're still getting feedback because this whole October we had a community survey. So tonight they're actually going to go over what all the feedback y'all been submitting, but also the feedback from the community survey before anything. Obviously everything right now is working on that.
So what's your target for being done?
Well, with all the meetings, and then we move into some of the more finalized plans, getting councils work on that, their approvals, and everything that follows that. So afterward, what I'll do is like I did last time. I don't know if you came last time when we were in the library, kind of just open it back, ask questions, we just took notes from people in the audience. But during the actual meeting, we had the committee kind of working with the staff.
You need to sign in, I'm sorry. My partner did.
There's a seat right up front.
All right. Well, good, thank you. You bet.
Up front, where? Anywhere? We sit over here.
consider.
No, I'm just on the, committee, so I'm not talking. I'm
Well,
listening.
I'm watching right now.
You're just watching. I'm Kelly.
I'm good. I wish we could tell anybody that.
I know. It's straight on. I'm gonna be the only person. Maybe I'm early.
Some of the old people
See, I got a call from you. I had called you back on it, but I had one reach out to you, but I think that, no, not a business.
all of the company.
Test.
Other discussion.
We'll see on the 20th.
It's the old, logo on
Ah, this thing is nuts.
Thank you for checking. Hey, we're not meeting tomorrow. We are meeting.
Well, we sent me there at the hotspot.
Oh.
That was more for
I didn't set this.
Chance.
I don't know. I just wanted, I hate anybody having a complaint. That whole process.
Well, they wanted to come in October, but they, well, I'll tell you this.
Oh, okay.
We got an EDC meeting the same night, 6, you'll have me at 5:30.
Okay, that sounds good.
that. Nobody changed the clock.
Already an hour late.
Here, I'll grab it for you on that.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
You bet, sir. Does it make your life easier if we sat a little closer to each other? You don't have to go back and forth talking to two people.
You can sit over here you want, and you can have the mic.
No, I don't want that part. I just didn't want, there's nothing like presenting to somebody and having this.
Oh.
Tell if I had it on or off. Okay, there we go.
If there's not people on, like participating.
No, nobody's
They're just
participating.
watching.
This is a way,
I
another way
understood
for
we-
the people to
people to
see it,
engage.
for
Yeah.
transparency. They
Yeah.
want to broadcast all the meetings.
Okay.
And, but the problem is we have to have y'all speak into the mic, or
Sure.
we don't get you on video.
Video, yeah, no, it makes perfect sense.
I am. We've got three members.
That one get you on the back door? You just got that?
Man, I made a mess up here.
It's a full house, guys.
Everywhere. What time was this meeting supposed to be?
6. But that was my thought. I've been known to be wrong.
I thought that's what his email said.
Fingers, pants on. You know, I'm gonna go.
If you're gonna get ready to start, Ben, I'll talk to you later. Oh, see, there we
How are you
just
doing?
make it easier.
Okay.
Usually this corner's like right off camera.
No, no.
That works.
Well, that's pretty
Pretty
there.
handy.
We'll go ahead and get started. Thanks for being here. But today is meeting number 3. This is going to be our last meeting for the year. Just completed the survey, community survey that went out. So tonight, that's on the agenda to discuss those results. And those that don't make it in tonight, I'll share all this information with the rest of the committee. But Stephen and Dunaway and the rest of the team, they're going to be working now so we meet again on everything that's discussed tonight and continue work on everything that was discussed before. In January, that's when we're hoping to have the open house, get everyone out here, get everyone participating, have them kind of participate in those same exercises that y'all do with the posters and things like that. So we're excited about that. But again, you'll welcome Stephen with Stephen Cook with Dunaway. He's gonna.
Thank you, sir. So our last meeting, we did a lot of editing on our mission statement. We did a lot of editing on our goals and objectives for the main sections of the comprehensive plan. Tonight we'll do the kind of results of what we saw from the survey, my colleague here, Aiden Herrera, she was at our last meeting. She'll do that presentation, and then afterwards, we're going to do more live editing of the presentation and we're going to focus on 3 sections. We're going to look at strategies on 3 sections. We're going to talk about growth management. We're going to talk about the future land use plan and how we implement that map once we've got it completed, and then transportation. So for now, we'll let Ms. Aiden get going for us.
Hi, I'm Aiden Herrera. Thank you for the introduction. We're just going to go over some of the survey results. So we had a really great response rate, especially from other clients. We all had about 200 responses.
Let's try it again.
Testing. Great. Okay. So the survey was up for about a month, and y'all did a great job of pushing it on National Night Out and at Trunk or Treat. So we got about 210 responses, which is a pretty good, healthy sample. And with that, we had English and Spanish surveys, and the following results that you're going to see is the combined data. So quality of life overall, pretty good. The community noted that it is a good place to live, raise a family. Overall satisfaction, high rate of satisfaction with library services and overall city maintenance of city facilities. Areas for improvement really tended to focus on streets and park and recreational facilities. Next, again, really high satisfaction rate with public safety. We did also have open-ended responses on a lot of these questions, and some of the feedback with that we got was a lot of the neighborhood and street lights. They would like to see more neighborhood and street lights, more sidewalks within those areas, just to increase safety for the community in the evening hours. Parks and recreation, overall, the biggest feedback that we got was that community members would like to really focus on the existing parts, improving what y'all already have, but also providing more indoor recreational facilities, opportunities for that, and more outdoor recreational space. And also just continue to provide more amenities. Sonora Park was noted as a particular area of interest. And again, echoing what we saw on the last slide, continuing to provide high quality maintenance and high quality facilities within our parks was the top 3 areas of focus for the community, along with providing quality walking trails. The community would like to increase walkability within the neighborhoods and the park system. Maintenance and appearance. We really saw within the comment feedback a need for more code enforcement in just areas within residential and commercial properties. City communication, like we see with a lot of communities, a lot of residents are getting their information from the city website and Facebook. Overall, they seem to be pretty satisfied with city communication. There was some comments noting that the city website can be a little hard to navigate at times, and also sometimes there's outdated information, so just needing to stay updated on all of those things. Support for city initiatives. Overall, the community really seems to, as we've heard, focusing on street improvements with that. And also we got a lot of support for a community farmers market, both from the survey results and within the open-ended responses. For traffic and transportation, really a need for just more improvements of major streetways. Overall, the community is somewhat satisfied with walkability, but there is a need for more just safety for biking and walking, with more sidewalk availability throughout the neighborhoods. And as you can see, we do have overall support for more investment in walkways and multi-use trails throughout the park system, connecting the parks also with town center and other community civic amenities. For housing, overall, the community tends to favor single family, and that's what we've heard, more estate style, large lot, but you're also open to more entry level and semi-custom housing, but still more of a focus on that single family, large lot residential. And as far as commercial development goes, we heard residents would like to spend more of their money locally and keeping more of those tax dollars here. And we can do that through providing more entertainment, sit-down restaurants, and family-oriented entertainment. And also, we heard a lot that they would like to have a grocery store within the city limits. Areas of focus for the plan, kind of echoing that more commercial development along Business 287, with that being more regionally oriented, highly trafficked areas. And then again with street improvements, and then investing more within open space and parks and recreation. And aesthetic improvements, a lot of it had to do with just developing the beauty of what y'all already have, your corridors, landscaping of areas, particularly industrial, providing a buffer between those sections, and streetscaping. That's the way we get that commercial development that the city is really desiring, is through providing those amenities that attracts more commercial development and makes the community more welcoming for both residents and visitors. So overall, high key takeaways. You'll have a high overall satisfaction of life. Like it's noted, it is a great place to live and raise a family. Also, a lot of people noted it's a great place to retire. High satisfaction with public safety services. Fire and police are doing a great job. We really see areas for expansion within the parks and open spaces, with that building on what y'all already have with the existing parks, and possibility of indoor recreation centers and possibly more athletic facilities to hold things like tournaments and stuff like that, which can also help with the economy. Sorry about that. And then, of course, street improvements, that really seems to be a priority for the community, increasing walkability with more sidewalks, particularly in areas near schools. We really heard wanting to provide a safe routes to school program, and a desire for more single-family housing options, and like we said, different commercial development, restaurants, grocery store, entertainment, and healthcare services. But that is pretty much all from the survey. Any questions? Yes.
What was the sample size?
So it was 210, and with that, predominantly female, age about 35 to 45, but we had a pretty healthy sample of different age demographics. With most communities, we tend to see around 180, so 200, and anything over about 200 is a pretty healthy sample population. Any other questions? So it was about 99% were Kennedale residents or surrounding. And I believe like the other population was just outside of the city limits or within the ETJ.
When you guys looked at this, what were your key takeaways?
I think the biggest thing is that street improvements seemed to really be an area of focus, and ensuring that we have those amenities to, like we were saying, streetscaping, more investing in the utilities and things like that that can attract more commercial development, and those things that the city or that citizens would like, more family-oriented entertainment and things like that, were the biggest takeaways for me.
I think one of the biggest things that we got out of the survey was the citizens are repeating very similar things that we've heard from the committee. and from your city council. And so I think that means that you're keyed in to the issues that are facing Kennedale, and that we've got the right mix of people here to help draw up a plan that we will present to the community at large that really helps address the things that are affecting the community. So I think that, we're hearing the very similar types of things that we've heard from this community in the previous several weeks.
Yeah, and the open-ended for about more than half of the questions really kind of fills in like those areas where they identified particular streets, particular parts that they want to see improvements in. So it gives us more areas to fill in holes. Once we start actually writing the plan, it gives us that insight of community desires and areas of focus that we can't just see through charts and tables.
On a logistics perspective, do you guys write the plan, or do you write the plan with this committee or a subset of this committee?
So you are writing the plan with us. Right now, we're going through all of the text. That text will be part of the plan, and then what we will do is fill in the process. How do we get to these decisions? What is it that can help out? Give us the additional information. We're going to fill out the demographics and other kinds of things that kind of fill out how the plan works. And then we have the implementation of these strategies that we'll be going through tonight. So you're helping us wordsmith those strategies. One of the biggest things, if you'll go ahead and flip over to the presentation. Go ahead, and there we go. So we go to the next slide. So one of the biggest edits that we had at our last meeting is our vision statement. We had a fantastic input that the previous one was too wordy. We wanted to simplify and put it to a simple vision. And so this is the vision statement that came out of that last meeting. And so we're using this as our basis. So all of the goals that we worked at, all the objectives that we worked at the last meeting, now we're going to start drilling down some more specifics and things that can be implemented through decision making and help your council as they have new development come forward or want to make decisions on their budget. That's where we're going to go next. So, in the next slide.
Can we back up? I've got a question.
Sure.
Back where we were with the various points that were brought up in the survey.
Mm-hmm.
Can you back up to that slide on the another one that has the
Do you know which topic it was focused on?
We're there about 3 slides back, and then
Okay.
there you go. I think
Commercial.
So, no, like that, but maybe the next slide. On the far left, it had renovations and something. It wasn't. It was like the verbiage was cut off. There you go. Far left there, renovations. Renovation, adding, what is that on the far left?
Question 9?
Yeah, question 9. On the left side.
On the left, far left.
Oh,
Right there.
Yeah.
renovations and adding facilities to existing city facilities. So like expanding city hall, different things like that.
Okay. So the next 3 largest desires are streets, community farmers market, and indoor recreation center. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
And then outdoor athletic space
Yes.
after the
Yes.
facilities. Okay.
Okay. Sorry. Zoomed through that a little too fast.
We're good.
Stephen, you have the ellipsis for almost every one of these. What verbiage are you cutting out that we can't see?
So that's just a formatting issue with this.
It's a formatting issue.
It's just a formatting issue. So the language was completely built in the survey itself. And so what will happen is that when we put these formats in order for us to not have gigantic images and stuff, when we put this into the final format, this will be an appendix of the plan, and we'll be able to read every single one of the terminology that was used for each question.
The Nathaniel, will you be able to provide a copy to the committee so we can see the entire statement, not where it's been truncated by ellipsis?
Yes.
Is that possible?
Yes, you're gonna you're gonna get that, but.
I understand that, but that is important, because I don't know what is been cut out or what is left out.
Okay, so again, the survey itself had all of the information as part of it, so when it needs to be reformatted, at this point, we don't have that reformatting done. This is an automatic.
I got it, I understand.
Okay, so
I
it's an
understand.
automatic one, so
So-
we will get that, but it's not ready yet.
It'll have it,
This
it'll have
is a
question
work in
6,
progress.
you know,
So-
response
The-
this or
So
whatnot.
the final formatting will be down the road. This is not the final formatting.
It's not the final formatting.
Got it.
We wanted to get you that.
Thank you.
Awesome. So if we'll go to growth management goal, we're gonna go ahead and just jump right into this. All right, so you have before you a handout that we've gone through. You have the growth management is the section we're working on. You have the goal and objective. So you have under objective 1, we are at encourage a mix of single-family residential units and appropriately located and design medium to higher density units according to the future land use plan. So we are still working on that map. We've gotten some feedback from the city staff, and we will present that map at the full meeting in January. But right now, what we're looking at is how we achieve that goal of having more single-family, large lot single-family availability. And so in order to do that, we provided these suggestions of these particular strategies. Modifying the development code. This is your zoning and subdivision ordinance that has, the setback distances, the lot sizes, and all of the design standards for each of the different kinds of housing units. So what we're looking at is we're not getting what we want out of the development that is being presented to the community. So in order for us to, one of the tools we have is to manage that, is to change those zoning ordinances. So how will we do that? We're going to manage those standards for all levels of housing density. How does apartments get built? One of the things we heard from the city is that apartments, the way they're being built, are too dense. That we're also not being built correctly, so that they're not taking into consideration adjacency. They're also not taking into consideration drainage and other aspects of that. So we want to make sure that those are going to be modified. Setback distances, street widths, transitional environment from industrial to commercial to residential to be prioritized. So what that does is it says, how do we step down from higher intensity to lower intensity? So that makes modifications to your land use map that we're working on, and then we will make that change into zoning. Yes, sir.
Is Dunaway the people that do the new development code, or who writes this new code?
We have a development code that is already approved as part of this contract with the city of doing the comprehensive plan. We are also under contract to rewrite the development code. So what we do is we want to get the city's input on how we want to implement that before we even start rewriting ordinances. So we want to get, business owners and everybody input on that, because it's not going to fit everybody. And we want to make sure we get the best compromise as possible. Enact city-initiated proactive zoning processes. The city council can, by their own accord, change zoning on properties. They will notify, they will go through the appropriate process and set forth by the state. But in order to implement changes to your comprehensive plan, they can change zoning on properties. That can be done 2 ways. What that does is it can be done as an economic development tool, saying this property has been zoned industrial for eons, it has never developed, it doesn't work right. We will go ahead and make a decision to rezone it to something else. That saves a developer, that time and money to doing it. And that also coupling that with where you're going to put your utilities that can drive as a catalyst for new growth. So then locate housing and office uses in and around the transit-oriented areas to create a vibrant day and evening environment that supports the businesses and retail stores in the area. So on the last plan that was done, there was a transit-oriented area. This is where the rail line, the BNSF rail line that comes through the community. One was in the Oak Crest neighborhood at the north end of the city at the northwest corner there. That was identified. Then there's another stop basically on the BNSF at Business 287 where it curves in and starts heading to the east. That was in that last plan. After discussion with city staff, it's been asked that we continue on looking at those areas. That the Oak Crest area is viable for redevelopment. This committee had looked at things in that neighborhood as being more employment oriented, finding redevelopment opportunities. There is potentiality that the 5 salvage yards may be able to be gone away with at some point in the future. And most of those salvage yards on the south side of that neighborhood are mostly within floodplain. And so being able to take those vehicles out and reclaim that floodplain and be able to redevelop that neighborhood as a transition from the interstate to the rest of the area, having a transit-oriented neighborhood, and that means something. Here you have businesses that are being around the transit stop. Then you might have higher density housing, maybe some multifamily or rent properties in that area, because then you have people that can use that as a transit stop, that can walk to that transit stop and use that transit. It's still in the plans to be able to provide more transit within Tarrant County. There is a lot of effort that has been made through the Cotton Belt rail line that has gone through Grapevine. We see the kind of development that's going on in North Richland Hills and the old Smithfield area. There's a lot of people that are using that to get to DFW Airport, also to downtown Fort Worth. There's opportunity there, and to not reflect that opportunity in the future, I think would be a disservice to the community. So we want to make sure that that's an opportunity. Yes, sir.
What do you do to incentivize a salvage yard to move? Like, how do you get them to move if you wanted to?
Money.
Is that what the city does? Or?
So, the thing is that there's
big enough check. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Well, and to be honest with you, my father taught auto body repair for 30 years. So I've been in those places. And the thing is that, in certain ways, some of the stock that's in there is becoming outdated and not useful. Consolidation of those into other locations. They understand that there's more value in the property underneath than there is in the stock that they have on top in some things. So how do you make that much more valuable to redevelop and continue operating? A lot of that property is also leased.
Well, I was gonna say, my question would be, I know the train station and stuff like that is in the long-term future plans, but why would you take a business out that's providing sales tax revenue, that's been operating who knows how many years around here, and that's pretty much forgotten about by 80% of residents? Why would you enforce that to be taken out when you just said the property value is in the property itself, except for you said it's in a floodplain and needs to be reclaimed as floodplain?
Not all of it is in the floodplain, but the thing
The
is
majority of that area
so
is.
what we're talking about is the future of the community and the values of what the community is. So the values have changed. This was a very auto-oriented community for a long time period. That there were certain uses along I-20 that were built, and the community deemed that those were not valuable to the community.
But would it,
and the other aspect of it is that these are also environmentally sensitive areas in that floodplain. Yes, they have been there for a long time, but what we're trying to do is see a future in which we improve the community and being able to, this isn't going to happen overnight. Right. And I know what it takes to take out a salvage yard, and it takes a long time, a lot of effort, and does cost a considerable amount to recycle and figure out where those vehicles go, and then to remediate all the parts that have fallen off over the years, and the fluids that were not draining of stuff is a lot of work. But if you don't put it into a plan that we're going to envision what that future property could be, then we're tying ourselves back to something that has always been.
I mean, wouldn't it be smarter to have some kind of I guess, a system in place to say when these future plans come to fruition, then start phasing them out slowly, not trying to run them out while they're still actually providing some benefit
I
to
don't
the
think
community?
we said that at all. I said, what we're trying to do is that we understand and the city doesn't want to go and amortize anybody. There is logical business ways of having new uses come in. And so there is a process. What we're saying is that we envision this land use to be in this location and that we want to have our floodplains be cleaned up.
And if I may, if I can add to that, we do have a system set up in place in our UDC. It's a whole article. It's built on nonconformities, things of that nature. And then just to the point about that area being forgotten, I think I think it's the opposite. I think everyone brings that to my attention. I think that's reflected in the survey, but certainly in my dealings with the community. Well, how do we go about that respectively? How do we engage with that? And so it's, again, like you're saying, it's setting it up for the future. We're talking plans down the road. Those industries in themselves, are they viable? How much longer will they be, with the transition to EV and some of these other things? Some of these parts, there are, can't even really find them anymore. Because the vehicles that are on the road today just don't use them. So that community within themselves, I've talked to several other business owners that are within that community are having those discussions too. They're seeing, okay, when the oil and everything like that goes away, can we go to some other type of business? I have one that talked about from motor oil to olive oil, right? That we're still having the manufacturing process kind of set up in place to support those types of things. So anywho, but we do have a system set up for that.
It'd be interesting to see, Nathan, how much tax they pay compared to other businesses on that much property, especially if you can do it per acre or whatever. My intuition is the cash register's not honest there.
Thank you. Any other comments about this language? All right, let's keep moving. So the next one is going to be on objective 2 was to increase the number of commercial and retail uses. We want to encourage greater selectivity in the type of non-residential uses that locate in Kennedale through the provision of design guidelines and the permitted use table of the development code. What we've heard is that we're, again, too auto-oriented, that we have too many industrial uses, that we want to see more retail uses, so we can modify the permitted use table. Not putting out any business owners that are existing, but the idea here is that if we look at the uses that are going to be low nuisance, that we're going to have the ability that they have ability to control their uses. One of the things that we did in the city I used to work for is for auto-related uses, a transmission shop, is that we put in additional conditions on coming in, saying if you're going to have your auto-related use, your transmission, all the work's got to be done inside. You're not going to have lifts outside. You're not going to have, all the work's done inside. If you're going to have vehicles that you're working on, they need to be screened behind the, there's going to be, you're going to have better control of your fluids. We had one guy who was going to, again, a transmission shop, dropped the transmission, dropped all the fluid out on the road, went into the public right of way. He obviously got cited, but those kinds of things happen. And so, when they come in, they have to have an agreement. They have to say, this is a condition. If you don't do the condition, you don't operate. And you can do it. You can sell tires without having a whole bunch of stacks of tires out on the right of way. You can sell accessories without having giant waving flags and all that kind of stuff. It's it's your product and your service that's going to make you money rather than shoving it all out into the part of the right of way. Non-residential development should emphasize locally serving types of uses, including grocery, coffee shops, full-service restaurants, family-friendly entertainment activities. That's exactly the words that we heard from this committee. It's the words that we heard from the
Community survey.
I'm sorry?
I just said
Oh,
community
yeah,
survey.
absolutely. We're going to encourage the use of infill development through the potential relaxation of development fees or other associated costs in agreement with specifically encouraged development. Infill development, I think, is one of the things that Kennedy really needs to work on. There's a lot of vacant areas within the community itself that are prime for development or redevelopment, rather than going into greenfield areas. Let's see about we want to focus where our catalysts are. Where is it that we want to see new development? Well, let's put it in close in where there's already infrastructure, there's already capacity for street network, there's already capacity for water and utilities. How do we incentivize that without just giving out away money? Well, we do it by relaxing certain development fees or certain development standards. You know, you don't have to upgrade your water line if you're not going to need to. Some ways it might be, advantageous. The city of Fort Worth is going through a major rewrite of their subdivision ordinance right now, just specifically to encourage infill development. And so there's ways of doing that without just throwing city money after them. But we want new development to occur, but let's put it in places where we already have made the investment on our city systems.
Do we really have that much greenfield infill opportunity?
Absolutely, because the thing is that as long as you have people here, you have opportunity for new businesses to come in.
That's brownfield. I'm talking, is there really that much land still sitting there that?
Well, to the south and to the west, there is still areas of greenfield development.
Okay. Do we know that percentage?
The percentage of how much land area we have.
And how much of it is
vacant?
Greenfield? Mm-hmm.
So, I do have that number. I don't have it with me.
Okay.
Because my GIS person is not with us tonight.
That's okay.
She
ask.
just had a baby, and she just started back after her maternity leave. So she is working on the maps this week. As she was.
Oh, good, great, thanks.
All right.
Maps will be hugely beneficial for this effort.
Yes,
yeah, they are.
That's really so speaking on this infill development, that's really residential and commercial, right? Right? Because I can drive down the parkway and see a bunch of places. It'd be swell to get a bulldozer in there and start over, you know?
And the thing is that, those areas can be identified and you can have an incentive program that is focused on that, and it doesn't need to be giving away money. It can be a grant, or it might be something that's a facade improvement. One of the things that the city of Bryan did extremely well was having for their downtown what was languishing for decades, and they came up with a program that we will grant you. If you pay up to $50,000, we'll grant you 10% of that and give you money for you to just improve your facade. They did that, and it's the reverse broken window there. So one guy starts improving, well, the next guy next door is going to start improving his property as well, and it has a snowball effect.
And then crime goes down.
And it can be as simple as facade improvement, it can be landscaping improvement, it can be coupling that with building some sidewalks through CDBG funding or other kinds of available funding, so that the city doesn't use immediate tax dollars to do that.
Makes great sense on those infill properties to incentivize that, especially on the commercial properties with the economic development.
Sure, absolutely.
Corporation that we have here.
When we get at our next meeting, when we get to economic development, we will talk about catalyst areas. Where do we want to put that money for? Okay, the next one is managed industrial development in Kennedale. We want to modify use types in the development code to focus on suburban friendly levels of nuisance location. All industrial uses do have a certain level of nuisance, we have codes that help control that. But we want to relook at that development code and make sure that the industrial use types are the types that we want to see. There's a lot of new products coming out of flex industrial space that allows for assembly and manufacturing without hard processes and be able to have high employment and have storage facilities, storage yards with that without having the becoming a nuisance to the neighborhood. All necessary uses such as auto-related uses, this is what I was talking about earlier, to a higher standard of design and operation. And then additional screening for undesirable uses and parking areas should be required.
It makes such a huge difference in the aesthetics of Kennedale to just clean up what things look like from the street as you drive through.
One of the top things we heard from this committee was how do we clean up these uses. Okay, the next slide. Again, with growth management is foster strong relationships with surrounding organizations that affect this community. Investigate funding sources to assist the city of Arlington to increase capacity in the Kennedale collaborative effort for water delivery to the city of Kennedale. You know, the thing is that while there is, that's one of our major stops to development, especially on the west side of Kennedale, because we just don't, it's managed by the city of Arlington, and they're not going to just build new pipes. And so that's something that I think we need to be working with the city's engineering group to kind of look at that effort and how do we make available grants through the Texas Water Development Board or other kinds of ways to try and find extra CIP money to help that side of the community along. And then work with TxDOT to find additional sidewalk improvements. Yes,
excuse me. Nathan, I've looked at the organizational chart for the city of Kennedale. I don't see a city engineer. Do we have one?
We have a city engineer, but we contract with Shield Engineering. To provide those
I remember
services.
that. Yeah, that was discussed at a city council meeting. I think based on, you bring up some really good points, David. I think that this city needs an in-house hired for working for the city as a city employee, not as a contractor, civil engineer or city engineer, because these type of things that you're discussing right now, we would be beholden to a contractor. And I don't think that's the direction this city needs to go in, sir.
Thank you very much.
I would definitely agree with that, for sure.
Thank you. Anyone else?
That was actually going to be one of my comments.
Are you willing?
Well, they are listening.
Well, I mean, one of the other problems is the city has a knack of getting it in its own way, especially with the developmental side.
And again,
That's all you hear about from business owners, developers.
We are presenting ideas to we don't want to always put up impediments. You know, one of the things is that zoning is a way of putting up impediments to free market and being able to say, okay, well, we want this year, this year, this year. Well, the reason we put those things in those orders is because we value as a community the fact that we separate our uses to a degree that we're not creating nuisances from one property to another. Because a residential use next to an industrial use becomes a nuisance to the industrial. There's whole areas in an industrial area, they don't want residential next to them because they know that they have large trucks, they don't need to ask. And so therefore they want to have an area where they know that they can work and operate and not be bothered by their neighbors.
You'd think that'd be the other way around.
Well, it is.
I guess it goes both ways.
It goes both ways. You know, an industrial area, you know, there's in the city of Devon, the Devon Airport is on the west side of the community. And just to the south of it, there was an entire area of property that was owned by, you know, certain large property owners in the Metroplex, and they wanted to put a whole lot of housing
Right by the airport.
Right by the airport,
And
on
then
the south end of the airport.
And then complain about the noise.
That sounds like a racetrack around here.
And the airport fought tooth and nail to make sure that subdivision wouldn't go here. Because they have plans to extend the airport, extend the Peterbilt once that airport is larger. Because they're right there on the south end of the airport as well. So anyway, those are the kinds of things that we want to think about, because there is opportunity. If you want to protect your industrial and your employment and your jobs, you don't want to have residential encroaching into it.
I think what you have to look at though to hire an engineer is that really a full-time job in this city, or would you be better off with a contractor?
You're talking
Because
about-
I bet you that 80% of the city's budget is payroll.
Yeah, it's something that we're looking
If
at.
you're,
We've
if
got a
you're
good
talking about a
working
plan
process
like
right
this,
now.
yes, sir, we need a city engineer. If you want to stay where you're at today, no, we don't.
I was gonna say, I can speak from personal experience. The Shield Engineering eliminated 2 Fortune 500 companies coming to the city over a chain link fence going at the edge of a floodplain that'll never reach. And if they would have said that you could have raised that that fence 1 foot so it doesn't impede the waterway, that would have been here, and that would have been a $1.4 million deal and over an 8-year contract. Oh, that was Shield Engineering.
That's my comment, if we get in our own.
That's personal experience.
Say that?
I just did earlier.
We're getting in our own way.
The city is. Yeah.
It's all noted, I promise you.
Oh, well,
It's
we've
all
had this
noted.
conversation.
And it's streamed
But that's
live,
a
so there's,
discussion
I
for
can't
our
even say
elected
we never heard.
representatives up here.
So,
I think they're doing that.
We scared one of them
it's
off.
great feedback. I want to tell you, I really value your feedback. I'm not just giving you lip service. So if you've ever had a chance to sit down with me, I'm try to be genuine and sincere and say, hey,
He
I
lays
value
it
that.
out.
Yeah. You're honest.
All right,
All right.
we are on slide
I do want to caveat, this is no criticism, no criticism. This is what we think as residents of the city is going to help us to move forward and take these plans from paper and take them to fruition.
Absolutely.
But it's also an inherited starting point as well. So I mean,
Yes,
it's not
sir.
like it just happened last night. I mean, everybody in this room, it fell in their lap.
That's correct.
All right, so we are on slide 7 of 16. So we're gonna try and get you out of here before 7:30. How about
What's
that?
your land use
All
code?
right.
Good luck with that.
Well, these are, and I'm not putting a fine line on it. This is important information. This is important stuff, and I want to get it right.
We're small but mighty,
Take as
right?
long as you need, but I do want to respect your time. Future land use. So we talked about growth management. Now we're going to talk about specific types of future land use. We want to develop the land in accordance with the future land use plan. So that future land use map that we put input, you guys drew on our existing land use. We're in development of making sure that we reflect the amount of percentages of the types of land uses that we're looking at. We want to work with property owners to encourage the consolidation and assembly of sites to allow site development that will meet the city's requirements for parking and stormwater management. This is a way of making sure that we have more infill developable sites. How do we, we've got a lot of parcels that are throughout the community that we've got one here. Consolidation of properties where it can be done appropriately. Also, especially if it's along a major arterial, can help with access management and slowing down of traffic by having fewer access points onto drive approaches. Because every time you have a drive approach onto Endell Parkway, you slow down the traffic, and so we want to have access management. Part of that is consolidation of properties. When greenfield development is considered, it should be done in a way that doesn't dilute services or add to the city's resource challenges or infrastructure. Let me kind of break that down a little bit. What that means to me, was that we don't want to, where greenfield development, we want to make sure it doesn't overtax streets, that it doesn't overtax, because they're not building more streets for this other than internal for sidewalk. We make sure that greenfield development doesn't overtax water and wastewater services. And so what we're asking as part of that is the city should ask for a traffic impact analysis and adequate public facility study. Adequate public facility study means do you have enough capacity in the existing main lines for this development to occur?
This isn't a fighting statement.
Sure.
It's an, I don't know. Do we have any obligation to look at the impact to the school district?
So
I didn't know if that was implied, if it was good neighbor, or if there was something else.
We can partner with the school district. I mean, again, the city council can take that into their own consideration on whether that is a negative impact to the school district. But since the school district is a separate entity to itself in the municipality, they have their own, we want to partner with them by, showing where our demographics are. But, I don't know if it's appropriate sometimes to make a zoning decision based solely on whether or not it's going to have an impact to the schools.
There's not any requirement, regulation, nothing that says it has to be done. Okay, thanks.
When this suggests a traffic impact analysis and public facility study, who's paying for that?
They would.
The developer.
The developer would. As a requirement, if you're coming in with a greenfield development, you're going to show us that if you're taking up land that is going to require extension of city services, show us that you're not going to have a negative impact on those services. Show us that we have the capacity for you to come in.
And so, I mean, I'm going to come at you from the perspective of a developer. What's it going to cost me to do a traffic impact study? I don't know where to start.
It's going to come in several $1,000.
Okay, never mind. I'll go to Burleson, Mansfield.
Well, but the thing is that developers, they already do that. I'll guarantee Burleson.
Do they?
Yeah.
The thing is that they're already requiring it.
I don't understand why we don't already know that or have that in the works to know, okay, we're looking at the old racetrack down here and we expect them to build 500 houses down there. How does that impact traffic? And we're gonna rely on their study. We don't have our own information here as well.
Well, the thing is that the engineering seal that goes on to that traffic impact analysis, that's that professional's license. And if they're wrong or if they're lying, that's their license.
But
That's every engineer.
doesn't the North Texas Central Council of Governments, whatever, I may have said it wrong, whoever that is, don't they have that information already in place?
Not to the impact of the new development on the existing system. They do have traffic counts. We do have traffic counts through TxDOT in certain aspects, but showing that a new development and the number of houses or housing units and most importantly onto the design that they are building that subdivision and their exit points onto the city system is where that impact analysis really comes into play on whether or not it's going to have a negative effect.
Okay, maybe I'm on a rabbit trail here that's not that wide. This really would apply to larger developments, right? It wouldn't, if I'm going to come in here and build a market, for example, I'm not going to have to get into those.
Not necessarily, because the market it depends on if you're on a corner or not. It depends on whether or not you're how much traffic you're generating. If you're going to generate, if you're putting a new Walmart down at the southern end of Kennedale Parkway, then you're going to need a traffic impact analysis because it draws a lot of traffic. But if you're going to put in a 500 unit subdivision, we're going to want to see how it's.
You need to know.
You're going to put in a 250 to 500 unit multifamily apartment complex, and you're going to only have one entrance and one exit out in certain town. And you're going to need to have a traffic impact analysis.
Well, so is there going to be like a size limit that they put for that? Because like, say if I have.
But what we're right now is talking at the level of a strategy is that requiring to do.
Well, I'm just thinking like say I have like 2 acres of land and I want to build 3 houses or 4 houses on it.
Then you're not having an impact on traffic. If you're having, and there are standards for the traffic impact analysis.
So there's a point where somebody's gonna have to make a judgment call and say,
Well, it will be.
you gotta do this, but you don't.
You put it into your code and say this is the policy of the community.
That's what I was wondering, if there was some, like, if there was everybody or just like a certain number.
Just Jeff.
Okay, I've got us off on a rabbit trail here. It's probably not necessary right now.
Sorry, that I was trying to say.
Develop the city center.
All right.
Include more retail.
So this is that area that we identified. We had both of our mapping groups showed that city center here, right outside here. One of the biggest things that, that impediment to the city center is the adjacency to and not really kind of visualization onto Kennedale Parkway. Also looking at, how do we integrate the elementary school on the other side of the highway to this area also? Is there an opportunity to have more of a center to really build on, the public space and build on the private space? So what we would look at is perhaps putting together an overlay district. So you would have your commercial zoning district, you'd have your residential, and maybe something a little bit higher density in this area since it's a city center, close to where that transit-oriented development would be, just slightly to the south of where we are now. So an overlay district can be put in that would say, all right, this is your typical commercial zoning district, but because you're in the city center, we want to see this additional layer of aesthetic control. We want to see this additional layer of making sure your sidewalks are 6 feet wide instead of 5 feet wide, or because you're in this more dense area that we want to see development. These are going to be, you have this particular use, but we're gonna up it up. And you can do that. There is lots of overlay districts in throughout many communities, and it is the ability here to really focus on the valuable nature of having a city center that and again, what we want to see is maybe the ability to simplify and streamline permitting processes for these projects to further increase their attractiveness to developers. Is this an area that we want to focus in and bring more people in? Then we want to streamline processes. Oh, you're coming in and you've got your site plan and this is what you're going to do. You're in the city center. Then that's an administrative approval for this, rather than going through a full city council. But they get to make that decision on whether that's an administrative approval or not. So it's just, again, those kinds of things can be helpful. Offer a range of development incentives to encourage parcel consolidation. That's kind of throw back to what we're talked to. These incentives are usually offered within mixed-use or planned development districts in exchange for lot consolidation or site assembly that creates a larger parcel. Objective 3. This is again that Oak Crest neighborhood as an employment center coupled with transit-oriented design. Work with the salvage yard ownership of the redevelopment of the properties west of Business 287, initiating programs for environmental cleanup and return properties to usable floodplain. Continue to work with the COG on development of a transit-oriented development adjacent to BNSF rail, and transition zoning to allow redevelopment of this area for transit density housing and employment.
A question on that one.
Yes, sir.
With the rail traffic that comes through here, this is a somewhat semi-main artery. Because we know if a study's been done on passenger transit going through that area.
It has not been done.
Because that might be a huge thing. I mean, if you got cargo going back and forth all hours of the night, how's that going to mode in with on-time rail services?
So I am not a transit engineer, and there are ways of creating studies and timing where there will be additional need for certain sidings to be installed in certain areas because the transit rail is not as long as cargo rail, so the transit rail can go and go out to a shorter siding. The Cotton Belt operates with limited cargo. Fort Worth still operates limited cargo on that rail line. They're doing studies currently with Union Pacific to Burleson for bringing transit from Fort Worth to Burleson to Cleburne. And UP, I know that line in UP and Burleson has 24 trains a day. So there is a way to do it. I am not the person to tell you how.
It sounds like it'd be a good study to have before we really go down that hole of, let's go ahead with this rail station.
Well, I know that it can be done. I just, you know, the specifics of how it's done, I don't think we're at that point of trying to put that study together.
My concern is the cooperability between, I mean, we can't even get them to stop blocking our roads for, 5 minutes. So
Believe me, I understand that too. I'm working in Hutchins, and that's a UP, and the rail line is just the rail yard is just south of there, and they'll close down to downtown for 4 or 5 hours.
Most particularly because there is also the high-pressure petroleum pipeline that runs parallel to the railroad track for a large length, and the fact that this Union Pacific line that runs through Kennedale is a major artery for taking cargo down to, I believe it's Houston. And a lot of what goes through here is hydrochloric acid,
hazardous,
all kinds of, I mean, it's just amazing. I know, because I throw a rock and hit those cars as they go by. Yeah.
I'm kind of wondering if there needs to be some kind of plan in place to say, yes, we want this in the future for sure, but until that's kind of secured, why?
Probably a dedicated line.
Well, just to speak to that, so one of the benefits of working with, we can partner with the neighboring cities, and our neighboring cities, that's a discussion that they're having as well. Some of the larger ones that have the funding, that have the in-house engineers that are doing their own studies, we'll be able to take advantage of that, at least be included in that conversation. And actually, they've actually asked and reached out and said, hey, we're looking at these long-term plans. Does Kennedale want to be involved in that? And we said, absolutely. And so those conversations are going on right now. And that's what's kind of spurring this conversation on transit-oriented development, because it's like, hey, listen, some of these bigger partners got these plans. We don't want to miss out on that. While we're working on this future growth, let's include that in the conversation.
I think you answered that perfect.
I think you kind of hit the nail on the head, though. Plan for it, even though it's probably not a near-term reality.
Right. Yeah, and I want to reiterate something as well, is that in this exercise, I want to encourage you to not just consider what is now, but what could be. I mean, that's how I try to approach every day, even with our staff, right? Where we have certain expertise and certain experience, but what could be if we invest in them and we train. Same way when it comes to development in these codes, what could be.
I've seen it happen. In Denton, there was no trains in Denton, and it just burned. And they were able to get commuter rail from Denton all the way to Carrollton. And believe me, when I worked in Denton, and so when we had that plan, this commuter rail in Denton, and nobody's going to go use it. So it takes a while. It took 12 years for that one. All right.
Long ago, leadership here said, we'll never need that property over there where now there's Albertsons and Kroger's and McDonald's and all of that's over there. Kennedale will never need that. We'll never be that big. So, without vision.
I mean, I understand trying to plan ahead. I'm just wondering, like.
No, I agree with you.
Plan in place.
I agree with you. Plan
or is
for
it
it.
just a thought at this point?
So
It's actually been in place for probably 15 years, so it's nothing new.
2009.
And if you look at your current transportation part, it's in there. So it's been in there since 2009, I believe.
That's why I was asking, is like, I've seen it in there and literally nothing has been done.
Yeah.
So that's why I was
There's a lot, just like Nathan was indicating, it's been talked about heavily.
All right, so we are on
Objective 4.
on slide 10 of 16, so we're doing well. All right. Objective 4 is ensure all new development is compatible with existing neighborhoods through density, gradients, and design. This is basically saying, don't mess with our existing neighborhoods, new development needs to be sensitive to. So we wanted to make sure that it creates community and connectivity. Higher development costs will be offset through corresponding economic development incentives for capital improvements such as water, wastewater, roadway capacity increases. Development regulations contained within the UDC should be revised to place greater balance between the market and urban design. These issues can include the relationship between different buildings. The urban village concept may not be appropriate throughout the community. It should be focused on a city center or transit-oriented development. I think that was something that was from the last plan that we heard very strongly from the city council that they would like to kind of move away from that village center and kind of focus it a little bit better. The relationship between buildings and the street, parks, and other spaces which make up the public domain. Urban setback distances preclude estate housing and have difficulty blending into traditionally zoned residential property.
What's estate housing?
Yeah.
That's the large lot housing that we've heard that we want to see more of in Canada.
I'm still back to the point, do we really have enough land? And is that really viable? Is there a reality in that?
There is again areas and the wording that I've been told is that there is a desire to have more for new subdivisions to come in. They don't want to have the small lot subdivisions.
So what's a small lot then? Maybe that'll help me.
Small
Define
lot
me.
is about is a 50 by 80 or 50 by 100 foot lot.
Where you can spit out your window and hit the neighbor's
What
wall.
is,
So what's an
what are the
estate lot?
dimensions of an estate?
Estate
Yeah.
lot is usually around 40 units of the acre. So that's about
Quarter acre?
Corporate.
Oh, that
An
would have
estate?
never, ever been my definition, so I'm there with
Okay.
you.
Hey,
I got
what are
you.
the exact numbers? I mean, we just went over that and altered some of that.
I missed the first part of that.
The different residential ratings. They're asking what an estate lot would. R2,
Yeah,
1
that's
through 4.
here in town, it could be a 100-foot lot, 80-foot lot. Those are usually the larger ones. Our smallest lot right now is a 70-foot lot. Yeah.
Not much difference.
No, it's just using that term estate versus R1, R2. Gotcha.
I would think with the limited amount of land that is within Kennedale's jurisdiction, that estate housing would be preferable. My opinion, larger lots,
Quarter acre?
because we're landlocked here. We've only got so many.
With that trade-off, the larger lot is going to have fewer people on longer amount of infrastructure. And that's a trade-off. You can have more property value of a higher density housing on smaller lots, on fewer lane miles of road, on fewer lengths of water.
Are you saying that higher density housing is a greater value for
Has higher property value.
higher density housing has higher property value? That's hard for me to comprehend when I look at,
Taxation standpoint.
when I look at
yes.
Falconwood compared to Magnolia Hills.
Well, it's a basis of density. You have more lots that are gonna have higher value, and multifamily housing is gonna be worth more for the amount of space that it takes up than a large lot don't.
So I got a question if that holds true. If you compare Falconwood Falconwood's much larger lots, much larger houses, much greater value.
Is a singular, but what they're getting at is the usage, taxation of the usage of the land itself and density. There's more, it's gonna recover more, value for
But
the
you're
city.
comparing $1 million house to a $350,000
Yeah,
house.
but you got 4 of those.
More $350,000 houses than $1 million houses.
So they got 12.
So
1.2.
about 3 of these is equal to 1 of those is kind of what I'm.
Kinda, yeah.
Hey, Joe, one way to look at it is if you use Falconwood, for example, you may be looking at 25 or 30 acres with a residence of, say, 52 homes. If you look at our apartment complex off of Sublet by 287, that's 52 million, but it's on 5 acres. That's the difference.
But you're comparing apartments to houses now.
Well, no, that's what we're saying. If you're looking at density versus your taxable income, that's the difference. You're looking at $52 million on 5 acres versus $52 million on 25 acres.
And if you tie it to dwelling unit, right, versus a back one, you got, you know, whatever you're getting off of that one dwelling unit versus multifamily or townhome or duplex or some other type of smaller, single family, it's dwelling unit within that.
But clearly that's a much larger strain on the infrastructure.
Not necessarily. What we're saying is that a multifamily density, and again, this is, all I'm saying is facts that we have looked at over a long period.
I'm asking for understanding.
So a multifamily development is higher densities. You get more bang for your buck, more people that live in the community that are going to spend their sales tax dollars in a smaller area on less amount of public infrastructure, less street width, less length of water line, less length of sewer line to take care of those people. So you put them put density in appropriate locations. If you spread out all of your density, all the people that you put in that want to live in the city into large lots, all those large lots, you got to put in 6-inch water line. You got to put in another 7. So that length per linear foot of maintenance of infrastructure, that costs more. That low density costs more for the city to serve over a longer period of time than higher density development.
Okay, that makes sense, but is that not in direct conflict with what most of this community says about high density housing?
Absolutely. What I'm telling you is that as a professional planner, I want to put transparency out there saying we are making decisions to put into this plan that we're asking for the city to put its money into low density housing that may have to maintain over a long period of time instead of looking at appropriate density in some places that they don't have.
We kind of have to weigh out the cost of building up instead of out.
So I mean, basically, if you go back and look at the last 2 studies, they all kind of came up the same thing, is everybody was looking at single-family homes. They didn't necessarily want high density. But this committee also has to look at what's best for the city and survivability of the city and its infrastructure. So now we have to have a mixture and a compromise. So we got to find the right places to put those high densities, the right places to put those single-family homes, and then how to
The right
actually maintain-
balance.
Yeah,
The right
exactly.
mix.
So we can't negate one of them or negate the other.
Right.
And just as another point of it is that while it's fantastic to have $1 million home, I'm never affording $1 million home. And I know a lot of people who aren't affording $1 million home. And if I want to live in Kennedale, then I want to find places that I'm going to be able to afford. And if in a time period right now where we've got increasing mortgage rates, it's harder to find a rate that I'm going to be able to afford even the same size house that I live in now.
Save money.
Yeah, with interest rates like they are, builders, developers are not going to be all about those.
Right, absolutely. So the
But
pressure
the cycles are in.
They want to build smaller houses on a smaller lot because then they're more affordable and people can afford a 6% rate.
Yeah. But council just shot that down in Magnolia Hills, you know, so
So it's, and again, it's, go back to our base values. What is it that means Kennedale is a hometown? And what does that hometown look like? And again, I'm not making judgment calls on anybody. I am just talking about what I've seen as development patterns in a multitude of different communities. And what a lot of city managers have to make the hard decisions on is making sure that they are conservative with the community's treasure in trying to provide services.
You know, I think.
Yeah, and that's.
I'm
go
sorry,
ahead.
John, go ahead.
Well, that's kind of my point. We got a limited amount. We're not like Mansfield that has
Pretty landlocked.
fields and miles of fields out there to develop. We've got this limited amount of, how many square
We're
miles?
6.6 square miles. We'll probably be built out to about another mile after that when you include the ETJ. But just to reiterate, that's, the western part of town, we still got quite a bit of elbow room out that way.
Yeah.
But it's, do we have infrastructure out there to support that is the question. I've had talked to some developers that have looked out in the ETJ in that part of town, and there's no sewer, there's no water infrastructure, so their costs, obviously, to bring it to them.
How many
And in
square miles
development,
did you say?
in development, the term is to and through, right? So when that developer's got to bring that infrastructure to them and through them, so for the next people on that. But I'm just so you know, I'm making points of everybody's comments here. Starting to fill up the page, and only I can decipher this.
And I'm not trying to be argumentative.
No,
on
it's
this.
great. This
is a challenge.
No, that's why you're here. That's why you're here.
Where's the balance?
You guys don't always talk about the sausage being made, right? This is it right here. We're making sausage.
Yeah, the second you crack open the west side, now you got, speaking of throughput, now you got throughput traffic.
Well, that's why we gotta be good stewards of our resources.
Yeah.
Where do we cite that? And
Burlington's gonna wanna go hit Burleson.
where do we
Kennedale.
invest in infrastructure in different parts? So that'll get onto the catalyst part or the transportation part. that,
What were you
get
thinking,
ready to
Kelly?
get into.
That I'm gonna sell my house.
Well, I mean,
Kelly has the state.
Well, no, I was
No
thinking,
correct.
this
Let me say-
colleague here said in '09 that was the same definition, same thought process. My thinking on that is I'm wondering, when we use words like high and low density and estate, if you said that to me, a quarter acre for a house would not be a low density house in my mind.
You got nothing.
Okay, what would be low density?
Me.
Acre to two. So you see what I'm saying? So I'm not sure that the definition is clear to our community about what do these terms mean?
More like common understanding issues.
Yeah, I think we've got some common understanding that's just not in play.
So what will happen is.
Plus returns would be a good thing.
So the next step out of this, what we're talking about, comes that I actually draw up Aiden's been already working on this, is that we have a chart that's going to talk about low density in some states. It's from this density to this density. It's kind of a photograph of exactly what it looks like. It's going to be color coded. There'll be a yellow bar right next to that, and that's going to color code to exactly the same color that's on the map. So that when you look at the map, you'll have a description and an image of what that density and what that. So there will be a chart. This is something that, this is a tool that I use in all of our comp plans that we write. We want to make sure that it's accurate to what Canada wants. So
That's
why we
perfect.
haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, no, that sounds great. And even tying that back to what's synonymous with an R1, R2, R3, size-wise, I think would be helpful because I think we've all started moving to that.
I mean, I've been looking at your Unified Development Code, and I know it's, yeah, yes.
What sizes are comparable?
And,
What's an R1 size?
It's in the UDC.
Yeah.
but I'm looking at using the existing language within your ordinance and making it more readable and understandable for the y'all.
Okay.
And also having the
I think
pictures
that's been one of the
helps.
challenges with what we've just covered so far, is the fact that there is obviously a little bit of a problem with common understanding, but also being able to have, I mean, it's very challenging to look at these objectives and the little subpoints without having that visual.
Yeah.
And I know you folks are working on it, but can you give us some idea of when we can expect that so that we can put this side by side with the visual representation?
We will have that table pretty much done. We will send that out with this presentation.
And that will be,
You're asking me to put something new in my work plan that I can't do right now at the time.
Perhaps by the next meeting.
Oh, but for sure, if not within the next week or two.
We have been getting this information back from these meetings back to Nathan within a couple of days. So every one of these meetings, so we will provide something back to you. Okay.
Nathan, this meeting was advertised as allowing community input. We have members from the community. Are we going to?
Yeah, at the end, just like we did last time, I'll open it up for that as well and take some input.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Is there an optimum mix, I'm gonna say, that's for a town the size of Kendall, that, you understand what I'm saying? Not the mix of high density, medium density, low density. Is there a preferred percentage, or does that make
preferred
sense?
by whom?
Pardon?
It kind of goes back to your demographics, is that how many of what, is there enough housing for the income levels that are in the city? Is it affordable? Do you have more people that work in the city than live here? You're importing people that can't afford to live here and they come here to work and then they go somewhere else to live. In certain cities, they're like that. Because there's just not enough housing at that level. I think to the basic of the development, I don't think there's enough for rental housing in Kennedale.
Oh.
I think there is probably a higher demand for more apartments. I know that's not what wants to be built here, but I think there is a demand for it. I think that Kennedale is less expensive to live in than Arlington, and I think that makes it more desirable for people that want to live somewhere less expensive and then but have the accessibility, to be honest with you, to services in Arlington and along 287 and be able to get to a job in Arlington or a job in Fort Worth and live somewhere less expensive. But what that specific percentages are, I think is just what the market demands is that there is a demand for more. And again, I don't have those percentages of the existing land uses in front of me tonight.
And you know what I'm thinking about is in the perfect world, let's take Kennedale and set it off out 100 miles from anywhere else. And okay, we're going to build a grocery store, obviously, if we do that. And then, do we want 30%? What do we call it? 30% of the large and 30% of the small and 30% of the medium and 10% apartments, or that's kind of where I was.
It changes with the aging of people.
Yeah.
Right now, we've got a
Don't
lot
look
of
at
people
me,
who are
Joe.
Largest demographic in the United States, baby boomers. They're all in retirement ages or getting to that point. A lot of them are deciding that they don't want to maintain properties anymore. They want to have, and some of them do, but they want to have a smaller lot. They want to have no lot. They have to have a rental facility that they don't have but they don't want to retire, the way that we had envisioned retirement 20, 30, 40 years ago. They don't go to Florida. They don't go to Arizona to retire. They want to be part of the community that they have lived in and served in, and their churches and their civic groups. But if they don't have the housing that they can transition to, then they're going to go somewhere else.
Well, so how does this plan help reduce the tax rate? Because it only increases in Kendall. It's only getting worse.
Got to be commercial and industrial.
Stephen, there's two people here, myself being one, and the gentleman sitting over there, that we're in that demographic. I don't want to transition anywhere. I'm staying in my home. And that, I will share that with you. You should read AARP. You may not be old enough to get a subscription yet because you have to be 50 or older. But pay attention, because you cannot pigeonhole us and say, we want to do this, we want to do that as we progress through life.
And I absolutely
We want to
understand
stay,
your point.
sir, that gentleman over there is 92 years old. I happen to know him, that gentleman sitting
And
right there.
again, sir,
And
I
he
wish-
wants to live in Kennedale. I want to live in Kennedale. I don't want to live in, place, and I will stay in my home as long as I can.
That, and love to see that, and that's the goal. But, there's, go to a steakhouse, some people order the porterhouse, some people want the filet, right? So it's trying to offer different options to just different appetites. Myself, I've got my own plans. My mother's just retired, right? She's looking for a place to kind of downsize. So, and I worked in a community where active senior communities are super popular, right? It's a smaller cottage home, less to maintain, HOA maintain, so it works for everybody. But I love the fact that you want to stay in Kennedale, and I hope you do. I hope you stay around for a long time.
So do I.
Well, that was a
Thanks, Stephen.
long shot, looking for the perfect mix.
Well, let's see if we can get through the transportation section, and then we will call it a night, okay?
Transportation.
So under transportation, the objective one, we talked last time about context-sensitive design. Just to remind you, that's where a road, streetscape, the sides of the road, the sidewalks, the trees, other kinds of things, how they might change over a distance of a singular road. We wanted to see if we could make sure that work with TxDOT, Kennedale ISD for a crosswalk solution across Kennedale Parkway. We talked about that earlier. Reserve the required right-of-way for transportation corridors. Integrate all modes of transportation. That includes bicycling. We saw that in our survey, that we want to see more bicycling and pedestrianism within the community. That doesn't necessarily mean that it needs to be on the road, but make sure that some of the trails that we had seen that you guys had put into the maps, we will be reflecting in our parks and open space mapping, utilize those not only for recreation, but making sure that there's need for transportation as well. And then implement cross sections that reflect the adjacent land use context. That means that as the street width, the lane width, sidewalks, street trees, and the fronts of buildings, all of those are going to be context sensitive as to what that development is adjacent to. And what that does, that helps us when if this gets implemented, that allows us to put those kinds of different segments into a development code. Say you're going to build your road this way, this is how it's going to be within your subdivision regulation. Fund and build improvements to existing streets as shown on the thoroughfare plan. Continue to fund improvements through the city's capital improvement program through available grants and loans. Continue to utilize the pavement management system, which extends existing roadway life and management. Pavement management system is a way of making sure that you know how your pancake of all your roads is built, what that status is on their livability. The longer you can maintain a road through appropriate crack sealing and other kinds of things, extends the life of the road before you have to completely rebuild it. Just is a more efficient way of doing things and a lot more cost savings over time. Coordinate with TxDOT, Tarrant County, and COG to address long-range transportation needs. Organize an access management system for all new development on major arterials. This is kind of, again, we want these plan parts to work together. We talked about consolidation of lots. Now we need to make sure we have an access management system that says if you're going to have a drive approach, that drive approach needs to connect to other properties instead of each single property having their own individual drive approach. New development, that kind of ability of getting off, parking once, walking multiple uses, or being able to drive off of the main highway. 3 was required developers to dedicate right-of-way, construct collector and arterial streets as shown on the master thoroughfare plan. There isn't any really strategies for that. That in itself is the strategy, and it would be set to that arterial collector and local systems that we had talked about last week. Make important interconnections of streets to activity centers. These are the transit-oriented development areas we had talked about, also as the city center that we're also talking about. We want to minimize cul-de-sacs and new neighborhoods so that emergency services can be provided as quickly as possible when needed. Design rights of way on new neighborhoods to provide a permeable but not strictly gridded network of streets. This allows the spreading of traffic for new neighborhoods and reduces congestion on pinch points on arterials and collectors. If you're putting all your traffic, one of the things we had been complaining about, even at one of the city council meetings that I came to, that well, all the traffic all comes out of this subdivision, all right out onto one point, and it's on Kendall Southern Road. It's causing a lot of problems. Well, yeah, because all that traffic's all going there because the subdivision was designed to not have secondary access or tertiary access. So you can design and build a more gridded street network, not to where they all become raceways. You have it permeable so that people can move about, and also it spreads your traffic out. It allows your traffic to have multiple access points, allows your emergency services to have multiple access points, and it provides better pedestrianism for kids to walk to places that they don't want. Improve existing sidewalks and construct new sidewalks for pedestrian access in cities. Develop and implement a wayfinding strategy. We want to make sure that people know how to get to places throughout the community and be part of that. Develop and implement an ADA transition plan. What that does is Americans with Disabilities Act has a transition plan to make sure that all sidewalk access is available, and also that new, especially street corners or sidewalk ramps are ADA accessible. Fund and build sidewalks to help create an interconnected sidewalk system throughout the city. When designing new sidewalks along existing streets, recognize that right-of-way may not be sufficient for the ideal street cross-section shown in the typical street section examples. These circumstances provide the widest sidewalk possible for pedestrians. So what that's saying is that you're not going to be able to retrofit every single street in the community. So at this point, try and find the best possible. You want to make sure that it's wide enough for ADA accessibility, but that there's still a path. And sometimes you've got bar ditches on local roads, so maybe the sidewalk is not appropriate on one side, but it might be available on the other. So it has to be, it's not a one-size-fits-all to every single street. So sometimes when you write regulations, you kind of set all regulations are going to fit every single situation. So what we want to do is provide some flexibility in order to get the best possible outcome. All right, got one more slide. Evaluate floodplains for the construction of multi-purpose trails. Again, this ties into transportation. Discourage and prevent construction of permanent structures in the floodplain to help protect property and environmental quality. And that's vertical structures. If construction of existing floodplain is deemed necessary for any project, the measures should be taken to raise the land out of the floodplain and to amend the flood zone map. Encourage the siting of trails based on natural topography of slope to ensure the lowest impact to existing conditions by trail construction. We don't want to flatten out all the trails, because then we're changing slope and changing the floodplain. We want the floodplain to continue to act as naturally as possible. Look at opportunities to construct trails within floodplain areas which are grade separated from high capacity roads. Just south of Oak Crest, that's we want to see if there's a way to make that area safe. How do you design that to go underneath Kennedale Parkway and continue to be a safe trail? There's ways to do that. Right now, there's a lot of houseless people there that want to make sure that we accommodate where they go at some point as part of the city efforts are doing that to humane way? And how do we improve that, as a trail connectivity? Examine opportunities and new developments where natural connections can be made, trails through floodplain corridors connecting each neighborhood to another, and plan into the design of new neighborhoods, trailhead connections to the full trail system. If you're gonna build new subdivisions, let's make sure they're connected not only through roads and infrastructure, let's put trails as part of it. That's what we've got for you tonight.
Is it true on a floodplain scenario that, basically for every truckload of dirt that you bring in, you have to take a truckload of dirt out? In other words, you can build up here while you deepen the creek here.
No, not necessarily. What it is that if you are building, a development, you can increase the flow onto your neighbor. So whatever you get as a built environment, as an unbuilt environment, you gotta take on whatever's given to you. So all the water comes onto you, you gotta take it. Now, you can't decrease the flow to your development somewhere else. Now, what you do is that in order to change 100-year floodplain with FEMA, you have to go through a development process. There's two of them. There's a letter of map revision, and there is a PLOMR, which is the certified letter of map revision. So you have a short-term ability to say, FEMA, I'm not going to affect the floodplain and increase flow, but I'm going to build up in this area, and this is my study to show you how that happens. And so they will allow you initial grading, but you can't construct anything within that new grading of bringing property out of floodplain. You can't touch an area called floodway, but you can work in certain areas of floodplain, and it has to go through a floodplain study. You are talking to a planner and not a drainage engineer. The other aspect of it is the final part, and this usually takes about a year and a half right now, is that they issue a final letter of map revision saying your floodplain can be changed, and we are changing our national maps showing that that floodplain has changed and you can build on it. If you build on it, you still want to keep your structures 2 foot above whatever that 100-year floodplain is. Your planners will require a statement on the plats that the finished floor elevation is 2 foot above that floodplain area.
Okay.
I can say on the floodplain area, the FEMA maps, I can very easily show you that they are wrong. Because my house, I have it certified through the Loma letter that it's 2 foot above the exactly 2 foot above the floodplain, but the back of my property rises up higher than my house and it's floodway. So I don't know how that's possible, but there needs to be some process to look at those situations because it's keeping people from building.
Well, and again, so this is the system that the federal government put together.
Well, I can add to that I had all the process. I got topographical surveys. There was nobody in this entire city that would take responsibility to give one signature for the community acknowledgement form to be able to do those map changes. That's personal experience. And I know things are changing, but I mean, it is a slow process.
It is, and especially when you deal with the federal government, it is a very slow process. So, as we have done with all of our previous meetings, if you get away from here and you think of something that we didn't talk about, you think of something that we got wrong, please shoot me an email, shoot Nathan an email. Let's get it right. Okay, I'm not beholden to any of these words. We make changes based on your input. We want to continue to do so. If we're not addressing something that needs to be addressed, if we're not hitting all the points, let me hear it. Okay.
I do have one question.
Yes, sir.
We talk a lot about changing areas and zoning and whatnot. The zoning side of it, I get it, the city kind of has control over that. However, we're talking about placing different community aspects throughout the city. What about the people that already own that property? You have to get them to buy onto it first of all, to want to develop it or to sell it to a developer. So that's something else we're gonna have to kind of take in mind and consideration before we say, yeah, let's go ahead and put a shopping mall over here and a gas station over there. What if they don't want to sell it? What if they don't, hey, I'm gonna give this to my great grandson? What if they keep it in a, like, I want to say a certain wreckage yard? If they put something in a trust fund, that thing's gonna be there until, hell freezes over.
So a plan is just that.
Yeah.
It is a plan, and it is looked at from a 30,000 foot level. On each individual parcel, something different may occur. We're not trying to take away anybody's ability on an individual parcel. What we're trying to do is put together a series of policies and ideas together that would make it more adaptable for change to occur, and provide the system for if change is to occur for somebody, we already have the positive nature which that change should occur.
Yeah, it just sounds like we should have a motivator plan, you know what I mean?
Part of that, if I can speak to that, is perhaps the overlays that we've been discussing, is that putting in place certain options that could be available. Did you know that in industrial owned property, you can't have retail?
Yeah.
There's no general retail allowed in industrial owned property. Why?
That's crazy.
Right? So can we put something in place that maybe allows for those things depending on development? I talked to a developer that they want to build a certain way, they've got a certain plan, but they're not exactly 100% confident in their legacy, I would say. That's probably a better way of saying it. And what those kids or the next kinfolk may do with the property. So they want to allow for them to have different options to do with the property what they choose. So it's about providing those options within development. So that's actually a real world example.
I got one kind of question and somewhat comment, and kind of adding to what he said about like the land use. If you have somebody that, like, say he rezones his property next to me as commercial and mine's ag, now I'm not able to do certain things, or I'm required to do certain setbacks. Is there any way to exempt that older landowner that's not changing their property, or like take for instance like Red's Roadhouse type area somewhat. That's a generic example, but I mean, you have industrial around it and they zone that, I think it's commercial, don't hold me to that. So now the neighbors on the other, like, let's see, I think it's on the other side of that little creek.
Yeah.
There's another property there that now their uses are limited because there's commercial next to it. So is there something that would?
That's one of the things we're going to be looking at in the Unified Development Code, is to make sure that that the zoning districts kind of live unto themselves, that they're not negatively impacting. I mean, you don't want to increase artificially an ag zoning setback distance because it's adjacent to a commercial development.
Well, because that's actually the exact situation my property's in, is ag next to industrial. But I mean, I think there might need to be something that kind of helps ease the burden, saying, well, or up next to certain ones, there needs to be some kind of, I guess, more like an exemption to say, if the property owner next to it says, I'm fine with this use, I don't mind it, there needs to be some kind of an easier process.
Under Texas state law, you can't give variance to use this. So what we want to do is because we don't want to put the burden on the individual property owner, it needs to be something that is going to be equitable to all property owners. And so what you do is you codify it into the zoning ordinance itself. So if there's a condition that is causing undue harm because of the setback distance, we need to look at that and then make a modification to the ordinance so that it's equitable to everybody.
Okay.
Hey, quick question. There were some more goals, the economic development goal, the housing goal. We're gonna go over those next time? Okay.
I didn't think you guys wanted to be here for 4 hours.
Whatever.
What, I'm wondering if at some point we're going to, when we did the planning work for the school district, nearly 20 years ago, at some point, we prioritized and said, here's what we're gonna do immediately. Here's the action items that we're gonna go after right now. And then we separated that from here's what's, I'm gonna call midterm, so 2 to 5 years maybe. And then what's farther out there, because some of this stuff in here is, I mean, it's a remote, it's a dream, you know?
So in the document itself that we're writing, right now, we're putting in the actual strategies. The last part of it is the implementation. So we're gonna take all those goals, objectives, and strategies and put them in a table at the end. We're gonna add 2 columns on it. We're gonna add who's responsible for it, to the city council, PNC, combined with TechStop, combined with other, whoever needs to be involved. And then the last column is gonna be, this needs to be a priority within 1 to 3 years, 3 to 5 years, 5 to 10 years.
Okay, good.
So that's gonna be, that's the last part. We gotta make the sausage first before we address that.
Just want to be sure that's the direction this is going, because there's stuff out here in here that's just, I mean, it's a good dream, but to me, it'll take years to come to fruition.
Well, that's kind of what I was saying earlier, but a timeline would help kind of show that too.
So we're not gonna make a small plan, we're gonna make something that shows where the dreams are.
Absolutely, yeah.
Without the dream, then it doesn't.
Absolutely.
Hey, can you give us some context on, are we that different from your other clients? These objectives were set out, but now we've got these subtasks. Where did they come from?
I write them.
Okay, so
there's,
we may agree or disagree then, right?
Absolutely. You don't have to agree with what I write. If there's something that we need to change, I'm trying to provide a skeleton for you guys to need to hang me on.
Is it kind of the same skeleton that other cities, similar desires, plans, size in this metro area?
Absolutely. I think a lot of the things on housing are very similar. Transportation in Hutchins is completely different than Kennedale.
Sure.
You might have a train that comes through, but you don't have all the logistics development that Hutchins has, where you're having 18-wheelers parked on city streets because they can't get into their logistics things at 7 o'clock in the morning because they're there at the parking lot.
Yeah,
so
we do.
they sit there and they idle and idle and idle all the time. But I mean, I'm talking like, hundreds of trucks in Hutchins. So we're having to come up with
last night.
We're coming up with
There's 3 of them last night on Subway alone.
Truck separated routes throughout the entirety of the community, the signage, the whole 9 yards.
Okay.
See if it works. Okay.
Stephen, I want to thank you for your gentleman and a scholar.
Well,
I always wanted to say that. Thank you and your team for everything that you've been working on here. Just real quick, your snacks are brought to you by the municipal court.
The municipal court.
Yeah, last week was municipal court appreciation week.
So you
Stop by, see Bertha, see Vera at your municipal court. They do a heck of a job, and now they don't get a lot of credit for like, well, within the staff they do, but in the community at large, you have one of the best municipal courts. There isn't a single complaint on like Google on it, and that's on.
And I've never been called to that.
Well, you know what? If you get a ticket, then you're gonna have a great experience.
Yeah, well,
Since I'm a jury.
You'll give them a 5-star rating.
I got called to jury duty one time, Kelly, and I knew the judge and the attorneys and half of the defendant, and it was.
No, I did once too, and I knew.
Before we close, I want to open up the floor to our visitors here. Tonight we talked about growth management, future land use and transportation, but I'd certainly welcome any feedback, questions, concerns, something that wasn't mentioned. That anybody else?
We were worried there was only be a few of you. I'm glad all of you.
Well, we had a meeting over at the community.
Oh, all right.
I was gonna say, that was the last email I got, but I think the other one went to my spam box.
The 4 of us were in the powwow over there for.
I'm not gonna take ownership of that. I will let your planner take care of that.
Hey, listen, I don't want you to just take this and shut it. I want you to go in the back of the car. I want you to take it, I want you to read the course, spent the heck out of that. But, thanks again for being here, and I know if you, Monday night. Again, if there's anything, if you can't make it to the next one, you have, 2 months advance notice, so.
2 months
You got me.
January sometime.
You got me out of Thursday night, so it's okay.
after Christmas.